Hello and welcome to the Pendulum Cycle Theory channel. Since this is an introductory video, I thought I would talk about why advantage play, and more specifically, why sports betting. Now, every venture starts with an idea, a dream that is compelling, and every venture that seems impossible starts with a very courageous question: why not me? Now, every athlete, every great entrepreneur, every actor, everyone that you've looked up to and has achieved something extraordinary in their life, at one point asks themselves this question: why not me? So as we go through this video and as we go through the series of videos, I want you to ask yourself that same question: why not you? Now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump into it. What planted the seed for me to start looking into advantage play seriously? Well, a few years back, an impressionable Yahoo, that would be me, saw a movie called 21. Now, in this movie 21, our hero, Ben Campbell, he is accepted to Harvard Medical School, and he's faced with a problem. In order to attend, he needs $300,000. Now, he works a job that pays $8 an hour, and he knows there's not a snowball's chance in hell of working that job and coming up with that money. Not in a year, not in 5 years, not even in 10 years. Okay, so in order to solve this problem, he's got to do something extraordinary, and that's where card counting comes in. Now, we're going to stop talking about the movie for a moment. I want you to interject yourself into this story. Okay, what would $300,000 do for you? You could invest in real estate. You could start a business. It doesn't really matter what you're going to do with that money, so much as how it would change your life. There's no question that that money would just be life-changing. Now, the next question is, working your current job, could you come up with $300,000 in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, or even in 10 years? Now, if you're like most of us, the answer to that question is no. Now, you might actually earn $300,000 over that period of time, but you have to live. Okay? So, you have to pay taxes. You have to pay the rent. So, $300,000 is just an astronomical amount of money for most of us average people that work normal jobs. So, just like Ben Campbell, we have to do something extraordinary in order to come up with that kind of money. Now, that brings us to the next stage. So, you've decided, okay, I'm going to pursue advantage play. It could be card counting, or it could be several other. I personally chose sports betting. But, the vehicle is not as important as the next question, which is, can you do it? And there's 1,000 reasons that come up as to why we can't do such a venture. And I call these reasons superpowers, okay? The MIT blackjack team was a group of geniuses. They were attending MIT. The guy who invented card counting, Ed Thorpe, he was a math professor. Now, these people had extraordinary IQs, and when us normal people look at something like this, can us mere mortals actually accomplish something like this? And my first reaction to this was, well, no. And this brings us to a second movie. There's a movie called Holy Rollers that I saw that completely changed my mind on this topic. The movie Holy Rollers is about a card counting team called the Church Team. Now, this was one of the largest card counting teams ever to hit the US. And there was something very different between this card counting team and the card counting team that we saw in the movie 21, the MIT blackjack team. Okay, the Church Team was comprised of pastors, housewives, construction workers. These were not your typical rocket scientists, mechanical engineers, and math professors that you see inside the MIT blackjack team. These were normal, everyday average people like you and I. So, if they can do it, the question comes back to, why not me? And that is the only catalyst I needed to push me straight into this venture full bore. Okay, so I decided I was going to need to do something extraordinary, and I decided that I was going to use advantage play in the world of gambling in order to achieve that. Now, going down this path, I came across a series called Breaking Vegas from the History Channel, and this was a valuable source of information for me because it exposed me to different forms of advantage play. Now, I've studied card counting, I've studied dice control, I've studied roulette bias, and as you know, I decided to settle in on sports betting. Okay, now with advantage play, it doesn't matter what you choose to do, there's a price to pay. There is not a single form of advantage play that I would say is easy. Card counting is very difficult. Dice control is the physical equivalent of card counting. Very, very difficult. Roulette bias is easy enough to recognize, but it takes the patience of Job in order to get the data you need in order to tell if a wheel is biased or not. And in sports betting, every time you find an edge, that edge becomes public knowledge and eventually disappears. So, doesn't really matter what field that you choose to get into. You have to understand this is not going to be a walk in the park. Okay. That being said, we're going to get into sports betting specifically, and how my path went as I started to pursue this. Now, as I was studying sports betting, I came across a character called John Morrison from a company called Sports Betting Champ. Interestingly enough, his company's been seized by the feds. His website no longer exists, and he was involved in fraudulent activities. But that's another story for another time. Basically, the importance of John Morrison is I came across an idea called chase systems. Now, if you know anything about chase systems, you know that they're highly controversial, and they're controversial for a couple of reasons. Now, number one is chase systems do absolutely nothing to change the odds in a game of random chance. Okay, the second reason is that chase systems are very dangerous. And to give you the Cliff Notes version of what a chase system is, let's say you bet $100 and you lose that $100. So the next time you're going to bet $200. If you lose $200, then you double down again, you bet $400. Now let's say you win on this third time. You've won $400 and you've lost $300. So you just made $100. Well, that's the appeal of chasing systems. And as long as they're working, they can be very profitable. Now the problem with chase systems is that you can end up losing a lot of money very, very quickly. Let's say your chase system is 4 tiers deep and you lose 4 times in a row. Okay, that's $100, $200, $400, and $800. So you just lost a total of $1,500 within 4 bets. So chasing systems are very dangerous because of this reason. Now, when I was studying this, it just so happened I was lucky enough not to know all about this. That chasing systems didn't affect the odds and how dangerous they were. So, not knowing this, I decided to study chasing systems in depth. I learned all kinds of different, chasing systems. You don't just double down on every chasing system. Some will only do it partially, while others will double down when you're winning instead of losing. There's just a ton of variations on this idea. So, as I was studying these chasing systems, and I was studying how they apply to sports, this led me to the discovery that I now call the Pendulum Cycle Theory. And there's no way that I would have ever even looked at this had I not been studying chasing systems. So, thank you for not informing me that chasing systems suck. Okay, so sports betting is unique because basically the odds in sports betting are not random. Now, in most games of chance, like blackjack is random. Card counting exploits it. There is a unique method about blackjack that is not so random. What they discovered is that, you know, as certain cards are dealt, the rest of the deck has a memory, and the odds change as cards leave the deck. So that's not the best example, but generally speaking, if you don't know how to count cards, then the game is random. Dice control is random. You know, you're throwing a pair of dice at a wall, and you know the numbers just bounce up, whatever they're going to come up. Roulette is random. You know, you spin the ball around and it lands in black or red or 0, double 0. Now, the importance of this discussion is that, you know, with the slight exception of blackjack, these things really have no memory. Okay, if red has come up 11 times in a row, you're playing roulette, that ball has absolutely no memory of, you know, red coming up 11 times in a row. So the next time, on the 12th spin, the odds are the exact same as what they were previously. Nothing has changed, and therefore a chase system cannot exploit these odds because they're exactly the same as they were on the first spin, the second spin, the third spin, the fifth spin. Well, sports betting is not that way. Sports betting has a memory, and the memory exists within the betting public. It exists in you, it exists in me, it exists in the bookies. Everybody who won or lost money on a game has input on what the odds are going to be. Basically, the point spread system is a free market system, and when people see, like back in 2007, the Patriots had their perfect season and they just kept winning. They weren't just winning the spread, they were annihilating it. Well, with every time that they won, that point spread got bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, well, every time the point spread gets bigger, that changes the odds. Now, we're going to get into more depth later on in different videos, but that is the quintessential part of the pendulum cycle theory that makes the entire thing work. It's built on bubble phenomenons. These bubbles are not random. They are people projecting their memory of what happened in the past games upon future games. And once you understand that this is not random, it has a memory, you can actually exploit this memory. And I use chase systems in order to do that. And now that I've studied this extensively, I know that chase systems are highly controversial. There are people that will treat you like you sacrifice kittens to Satan for even mentioning using chasing systems. And I will just repeat what I said before. You know, I had the good fortune of not knowing this until later on, until I had studied this in depth and found out there is a way for chasing systems to work. Now, before I wrap this up, I will say that chasing systems are dangerous. Even with this advantage, they are dangerous because it's not impossible to lose. But to say that they don't work, to say that there is no edge at all, that you can't actually use a system of money management to control and manage the risk that you're taking with these chasing systems, is false. Now, as I got into these chasing methods, what I was noticing was that I was able to use them to produce a 40% return during a single season. So what I have up here is I've demonstrated what 40% can do if you compound it over time. Now, initially we were talking about creating $300,000, you know, for Ben Campbell to go to medical school. Well, my number is actually lower than this. For me, you know, just breaking $100,000 would be an amazing thing and could change my life forever. Basically what I would do is I would go out and I would buy a rental property with that, and with that rental property, if I own it straight up, it's going to produce enough income so that maybe I don't necessarily, you know, I'd still have to work a job, but I'd still be able to walk away from the job that I have now and flip burgers at McDonald's if I wanted to, and still have money left over enough so that I could invest in more real estate and eventually walk away from work forever. So basically for me, the idea is to earn enough money so that I can own a property flat out with no mortgage. So I'm going to demonstrate up here exactly how I plan to do that. Now over here, you see I'm starting with $1,000. Now you don't have to start with 1,000. You could start with 100. This process is still going to work. Now over here you see the MLB making 40%, NFL I'm making 40%, the NBA I'm making 40%. Well, if you make 40% on $1,000, that's a $400 profit right here. Okay, you make another 40% in the NFL. Okay, now you're multiplying 1,400 times 124. So you're up to $1,960. Now you accomplish the same feat again in the NBA. Okay, 1.4 times 1,960, you come out to $2,744. So that's a 274% return on investment inside of 1 year. That's incredible. So now let's take a look and see how long it would take to come up with $100,000 needed to buy this rental property that I'm talking about. Okay, by the end of year 1, I would have $2,744. Year 2, $7,529, and I'll leave out the change. Year 3, $20,661. Year 4, $56,693. Year 5, $155,568. Now, the thing about this is, as I said before, you could start out with $100 and still accomplish these numbers. It would take you 7 years to break 6 figures if you started this with only $100. Excuse me. Okay, wrapping this up, what I found was a method that I could produce 274% ROI a year. I could achieve my main goal in less than 5 years. Now, this is very high risk, but risk can be managed. I continually study and try to improve my methods by modeling what the pros are doing. I don't just rely on chase systems or a single idea that I get. I'm constantly studying, constantly improving. So what this series is going to be about, it's going to be about how I find an edge and how I press that edge. I'm going to talk about the theories behind what I do and the strategies I use to exploit those theories. I am not going to say this is without risk. What I'm doing is dangerous. You know, at any time I could lose. So it takes courage to be able to do that. However, getting back to our initial discussion, I decided that I was going to have to do something extraordinary in order to achieve the kind of life that I want. And this has given me a method to achieve that extraordinary thing, because I know that I will never achieve it by working the job I have. So it all comes down to that one question that I asked you in the very beginning: why not me? Well, that concludes this video. I hope I've teased your mind a little bit and made you curious. And we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of what this is all about in the next videos. We're going to go deep into the theory. We're going to go deep into the strategies. They might not have a particular order. I'm not sure how this is all going to come about, but eventually it will all tie together, and will keep plugging at this, and I will keep you posted on the progress that I'm making. So, welcome, and I plan to see you on the next video. Good day.